today with you guys. I had these cute shoes planned, and earlier today when Dr. Story was sitting next to me, he said, I don't know how you women do it in those heels. I said, well, we don't do it. We make it look like we do it. So I'm going to leave them there while I'm up here in my flip-flops. Hopefully this will create a little bit of a cozy vibe, yes, between you and I. Because I want to get cozy with you as we close out so that we can actually create some intention and action into everything that's up here. How many of you are feeling a bit like a walking filing cabinet right now? So much. I'm feeling this way, and I've been around the block quite a few times when it comes to health talks, and these speakers over the last 2 days were phenomenal, yeah? They showed up. They spoke from their life experiences, and they shared with each of us generously, so generously that we probably all have so many things that we want to get going and take into action. When I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you today, closing out this beautiful day and a half, I want to serve you in a way that I think will truly help you leave here and feel more confident in everything that you've learned. And I want to help you understand the equation of change, and I want you to leave with a blueprint. So I hope that you were able to grab a sheet when you walked in. They were all on the tables back there, but don't worry if you didn't. I've actually uploaded them all to a part of my website with some free coaching tools for you. So you can go back and find those sheets there. So I want to start off because a lot of the reasons many of us are in this room are up on the screen. Many of us are very aware that we're living in a time of change, so it's why we're actually here. You may know that the World Health Organization has told us that over 95% of non-communicable diseases are preventable today just through lifestyle. So we found ourselves in this, situation right now where we're knowing we need to change. The population that really has our hearts are our children. I loved Donna's talk earlier and Holly's talk. So many of the people on stage actually over this day and a half are mothers. And so at some point, we've had to become an advocate on behalf of our children because we've realized that what we're doing isn't working. The lifespan of children, this was shared yesterday, is for the first time in history lower than parents. And if we actually dissect that a little bit more, we know that 1 in 3 kids are either overweight or obese today. We know that 1 in 6 have a learning disability, and over 50% of all children have a chronic illness today. I actually just read this week, some of you might have seen this, that in Ontario, they've just passed a law that by January 2018, over 4,000 prescription medications are going to be covered for free for children under 25. So what does this tell us, right? We can see and we know it's a problem, but is that the solution? It's a temporary solution for a lot of homes because this is a need that we're in right now. We need to dig out of this situation that we're in. If you look at the expenditure, this is pretty wild. So in the US, they spend over $3 trillion a year. So this works out to about $10,000 a person a year on healthcare. And in Canada, we're not much better. It's a little bit lower. The average person in Canada spends under $7,000 a year on healthcare. What's interesting is that this has grown 166% since '98. So if we were to span this out over the next 15 years even, what we know, and all the numbers have been run, we know that we are in a system right now that is not sustainable. And I trust that what you've experienced over the last day and a half, if this is your very first event talking about doTERRA, you're probably realizing that doTERRA is going to be one of the predominant companies that is part of the solution. And many of you here are. Our population as it's growing, if you look right now at this chart, you see that the age group right now, the expenditure is heavily towards the higher end of our life. I mean, this is what we would expect, right? So the average person that has been blessed with years well into their 90s, the average cost on the healthcare system there is around 30 grand a year. When we look at today, 2017, almost 17% of our population is 65 or above. Now our lifespan is increasing. And Tori Parker talked this morning about LOV and why the goal of it is interesting to think that we could actually live longer, but with a higher quality of life. And if we span this out, again, another 15 years, we're going to find over 20% of our population is going to be in that category. So we're waking up. There are two groups of people that have been influencing the wake up for the last few years. Now, the first group is a smaller collective. They have a lot of money, they're conscious, they're awake, they've been doing a lot of diagnostics on themselves for years. Okay, they're the ones who've been testing their blood pressure, their blood sugar, their heart rate, their sleep patterns through lots of different tools, their diet, and they've been impacting what we know. And a lot of that is through the benefit of having social media. We start to learn that, well, maybe this food design actually isn't serving our body if we're able to actually test these foods and what's happening after we eat them. Now, the second group are much bigger. It's those of you in this room. It's you and I. We've been voting with our dollars for years. We took a stand maybe a couple of months ago, or for some of us a couple of years ago, where we decided not to be part of these statistics that are growing. We wanted to be part of this solution. So part of my slide's not showing, but the very bottom point is, when we know all of this, what actually blocks us from making change? Because I know that some of us in this room are actually feeling like we know we need to change, we want to change, but we just don't do it. Maybe we don't know how. There's many reasons. Often that's the first one. We just need someone to guide us in the right direction. The second one is interesting. I want this to land for a second for you, because a lot of you are in this boat. I was talking with a mother yesterday who's trying to do things differently for her kids. And one of the major blocks for her is the judgment she's feeling from people around her. It's very scary for people around us who are not free to suddenly experience someone who is. And when you're making changes in your life, sometimes you're going down this path where this journey is leading you and things are getting better and you're feeling more empowered, right? And you're feeling more free. And this doesn't feel so good for some of the people around us. Okay, and this can actually block some of us in our change process. The third one, you can't see, my slide got a little mixed up there when we transferred it over, but the third point was that we often just make change way too big and way too involved. And it's almost like the to-do list that we make for ourselves that we know we'll never accomplish. Yeah? Anyone else do that? Start of the day, we feel really adventurous and we make this big long to-do list and we know we're not going to get it all done, right? And then when we don't, we're like, see, I told you you were a failure, right? Self-talk. So change is a process. It doesn't happen in a single event, but it can if you get into action right away. Some of you have heard that knowledge is power, but knowledge isn't power until it's put into action. So we want you to leave as actionistas today, okay? We want you to leave this room feeling like you've got this, okay? And I want to go through, when we look at successful people who have implemented change, you know those people that you think of that they seem like they're able to do everything. They you know, whatever they set their mind to, they seem to get it done. They often show one of or all of these 5 things I'm going to go through with you. So the first one is they set clear goals in micro form. So you've probably heard of SMART goals before. It's basically taking a goal that you set for yourself and asking yourself, is this specific? Is it measurable? Is it actionable? Is it realistic? And is it time-bound? So an example of this might be, okay, I've come to this great event, I'm inspired to lose weight. So my goal is I'm going to lose weight. That's not a SMART goal because you haven't gotten your brain on board. If you want to get your brain on board, it's got to be really specific. So what you might say instead is, I'm going to walk every night after dinner for 20 minutes. Super specific, something that you've assessed that you could do almost every day, and you know the end goal is going to be that you lose weight. So you've kind of taken a backwards approach, but you've now gotten your brain on board with this goal, and the key is you only do that one thing. So when you leave this room today, you're going to have a super micro goal for yourself, something that's inspired you, that you know you could do for 30 days, and it's actually going to be so simple, you're almost going to think it's not worth it. But that is the goal, because that's going to start building confidence, because action breeds confidence. Research out of Stanford shows that 90% of the highest performing people in the world, the people that we think maybe don't need to actually make goals, they absolutely do. They are always goal setting, they're always they're building that confidence, they're reaching higher. The second key to change is that it's consistent and that it's daily action. So rather than trying to take it all in at once, the micro approach helps us keep it super simple, which means that we're going to actually get it done. And a lot of change involves confidence. It's scary to take on new changes. Some of the things you've heard that you've been inspired about over the last day and a half might feel overwhelming because maybe you feel like you're lacking the confidence to carry it out. So if you actually take an idea that you've heard and you break it down super small, you build confidence because you do the thing that you said you're going to do. And it feels really good, right? It feels really good to get into action and know that you can actually do something that you might have labeled as hard. The third thing is that routines are installed. So people who are making changes, they know their tendencies, right? They know where they might get tripped up. And the goal here through a routine is that we want to reduce the amount of decisions that we're having to make in a day, because there's actually such a thing as decision fatigue. So morning routines are very important when it comes to success. So you want to, when you've established what your goal is, you want to set guardrails around that goal. So, because you just want that one micro goal to happen. I have an image of, some of you have heard this analogy, when it comes to what's most important to us. Often, women actually, we put our goals on the back burner, right? We put everyone else first. And I love this analogy for our life. If you think about a goal that you have out of this event right now, and you think about your day, and you think about a mason jar representing your day or your life, everyone else's stuff, all the things that we take on is like sand. And if we're constantly filling our jar with sand, there's no room for the things that are most important to us, right? The big rocks. So your goals are like your big rocks. I want you to think about your day and how you can schedule the big rock to happen first. And you guard that, because that's going to breed that confidence that's going to bring you into taking on other things. The fourth thing we notice about successful people with change, and there's just one more after this, they know that they're the sum of the people around them. Some of you have heard the Jim Rohn quote, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So our social relationships are so important. Community is so important. It is actually our trump card in what we do at doTERRA. So we create this culture of wellness that allows people to be the best they can be. I see the power of community in our groups every day, the sharing that happens. When somebody hops onto Facebook and shares a success story they've had with oils, the whole group listens. There's something so powerful about that sharing, and this is why what we do is so important. It's what people value more than anything else, because for a lot of people, they don't have the support that they want in their life to actually carry out the change, right? And sometimes our family is actually the ones that come on board last. Have you guys found that? The people that we almost expect to be right there cheerleading us are the ones we feel like we're convincing with the things the changes we want to make in our family. So the other interesting thing is our social network creates a perception of what's normal or okay. So if we're around a lot of people who don't value the use of essential oils, and they are, using everything store-bought, or maybe they're going through the drive-thru and getting fast food all the time, it actually affects your perception of what the normal level is. And so our surroundings are really important. The fifth one is super important. You have to feel like you are worthy of change. You have to see value in yourself in order to take on something that's going to add value to yourself. And we can't behave in a new way if we actually don't feel like we're worth that new way. I was visiting my mom back home a couple weeks ago, and I had bought her several months worth of Lifelong Vitality. She's had quite a bit of pain in her body, and she's never taken the vitamins. Beautiful woman. She just has never been on a system of having these healthy habits in place. And I was visiting her, and I opened up the kitchen cupboard, and there sat the vitamins, and they still hadn't been touched. Yeah? So I said to Mom, I sat down there, I'm like, Mom, what's up? Like, why aren't you taking these vitamins? She said, oh, I just keep forgetting. I said, okay, well, why don't we put the vitamins on this beautiful mirrored tray that you have on the island? And every time you come downstairs for breakfast, there they are. She's like, yeah, okay. I'm like, what's up? She said, well, I don't eat breakfast. So I'm like, okay, what needs to happen for you to eat breakfast? Well, I'm just getting grandma fed and getting Jeffrey out the door, and I'm doing all these things, and I don't have time for my own breakfast. I said, okay. And I gave her a few ideas around that. But I said, Mom, do you think that these vitamins are worth it? Like, do you actually feel like they're going to make a difference for you? And she said, well, yeah, Ange, I believe what you're telling me. I believe they're a great product. And I was sitting across from her, and the real question finally clicked. And I said, well, Mom, like, do you think you're worth taking the vitamins? And she looked at me and she started crying, and she said, you know what? No, that doesn't feel familiar to me. I don't know what it would be like to actually be doing something that's going to promote my health. And I mean, we all have this person in our life. My mom, for my whole life, has been the person she's gone to the wall for us, you know, as kids growing up. I can never have a memory of her sitting and just enjoying dinner. She was always folding laundry at the table, always cleaning, always doing something for everyone else. And the very simple thing of taking vitamins would actually mean that she's intentionally putting herself first, right? What are vitamins actually doing? We're actually making this investment in the us of tomorrow. We're actually saying, I'm worth it to feel good tomorrow or next week. And that was the real block for her. So this was a really important conversation that we had around that. Health is this series of decisions. You know, we're at this event and we're learning so many things. We'll go home and we'll put some of them into action. We'll create this confidence, and all of a sudden this upgrade happens. And this lifestyle, you know, this journey, it does get easier, but it's not because it's getting easier. It's because you're getting better. And you're able to take on bigger goals. You know, you start small and you take on the bigger things, and you upgrade. What we're really after here is to come into a life where we're feeling abundant in our health and in all the areas truly of health, because when we're abundant, we can give to other people without feeling depleted. And that's really the goal. This is why we're all here, because we're, you know, intrinsically, we're wired to help each other, right? We want to feel good in our body, and we want to apply what we're learning so we can help other people. So what if health wasn't so complicated? You know, I think Britt just said that in her presentation. So I want you to think about your next 90 days. And we have about 12 minutes together still. So what I want you to do is I want you to pull out that blueprint I gave you. And again, if you didn't get it, don't worry. I just want you to be thinking about what your goal for the next 90 days would be. And we're going to go through, first of all, there are, on the one sheet of paper, I listed out for you what the 12 causes of health are. We talked so much about the causes of disease, so I wanted to flip that a little bit. And I gave you the top 12 causes of health. If we were to actually break that down even further, there really are 5 huge movers when it comes to our health. So the first one, you know, if you think about your morning routine, how you're starting your day, we've talked about lifelong vitality. Some of the other products doTERRA has, you can get into a routine in your morning to actually affect your nutrition. Maybe an area for you is what Megan talked about yesterday, focusing on your movement, your fitness, and using the various products that are going to impact that. So again, when you think about, if that is a goal that you want to apply to one of the months, think about what products you would need for that goal, and we're going to break it down. I'm going to have you break it down into a really micro goal, the SMART goals. Maybe it's brain cleaning, so Brittany just shared with you several great recipes on how you can actually make this the focus for 1 month. You might be focusing on emotional balance, right? Donna presented on the power of these oils, especially with our kids, so maybe that's a focus you just take for 1 month. And then the last category, the real big mover, is with our kids. You know, maybe focusing on how you can create a routine with them. Maybe that's where you're starting. So what I want you to think about, without overthinking it, what is the goal that's on your heart right now? What was the talk that really spoke to you? And there's something for each of us. There's something that we heard that, you know, the light bulb went on. We realized that that's something that we'd like to make a shift in. Because these little shifts, they create really big change in our life. And if we start with the one that's on our heart, then we know we're in the right place. So grab your sheets, okay? And I want you to turn to the section that says the top 3 health priorities. And I want to give you a minute just to fill that in. I want you to think about the three, of all the things you've heard in the last day and a half, what are the three things you want to focus on in May, June, and July? Let's take a minute and write those down. And you don't have to be super specific because you'll break it down into a micro form when we go through the exercise. But maybe it's, water intake, exercise, and nutrition. And what we're going to do is I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, and I want you to try to at least have healthy goal number 1 scripted out. This will be your first focus, what you're focusing on in May, okay? And you can see there's an example at the top, and say your goal is that you want to increase your water intake. Because maybe the real message that hit you was the importance of cleansing and starting off with the basics. Drinking more water is like making your bed every day. It's like the making your bed of the health principles, okay? So maybe that's what you want to come back to. So first you think, what are the products and tools I need to really ace this goal? Okay, maybe you're going to buy yourself 2 brand new Swell water bottles because they're so pretty, and you'll always have one clean, okay? And if it's nice, it's something you look at, then you're probably going to use it. One of the girls on my team, I saw she had one of the people that work with doTERRA actually bring a Swell water bottle over the border for her because it was a design she couldn't get here at home. So maybe you don't go to that length, but you find something that you love. Lemon essential oil would be the oil that we'd probably want to start with if you're going to add 1 or 2 drops of citrus-based oil to your water, so you might want to write that down if that's one of your goals. Second question you'll break down is, how will I feel through focusing on this? And this is really important, okay? When I was talking about routines or habits, the habits that run our day, it's not so much about what the routine involves as much as it is about how we feel through that routine. So for somebody who, let's say every night when the kids go to bed, you're having a piece of chocolate cake. And for some, it's not really about the chocolate cake because you're not hungry, let's say. You're eating it for something else. You're eating it to feel nurtured or loved. That's okay. That's okay that your water bottle full of water just dropped. That's good. It's a good habit. So the chocolate cake that you're having every night after the kids go to bed, this routine that's in place that you'd like to replace, let's say you switch that up and instead you had an Epsom salt bath with lavender and marjoram. And you felt the same way through that change, that you felt nurtured, same way you did with the cake. And let's say you gave yourself still 1 day a week to have that cake because you're not wanting to change everything all at once. That day that you have the cake rolls around, it all of a sudden doesn't taste so good because the routine of the bath actually had you feeling more nurtured, and it ended up replacing that. So again, we understand that routines and how we feel through making change is really the point. So maybe by adding more water intake, you're feeling more cleansed and energized, and you're proud of yourself. Imagine you 30 days from now acing your water goal and feeling like you want to take on more. On a scale of 1 to 5, how likely am I to do it daily? Okay, so whatever goal you've chosen for May, if you can't say a 1 or a 2, then it needs to get more micro. Because often we're setting these goals that are completely unrealistic. And they're not going to happen. We say we're going to get up every morning at 5 a.m. before the kids and go to the gym. I don't know about you, but not happening. We need to actually be really clear on what are we going to do every day for 30 days, because that's the goal. That's what we're after. What needs to happen for this goal to be achieved? What needs to happen in order for that goal to happen, right? Coming back to that conversation with my mom, we needed to get to that point to understand, like, that was the conversation before it was actually, the change of adding supplements. So with the water intake, we would know I need to leave that clean water bottle on the counter, ready to be filled before I head out the door. Sounds, like something silly, but we know that when morning rolls around, we're getting the kids ready and we're going out the door, right? We do not take the water. And we get to the office or whatever we're doing, and 5 o'clock rolls around, we haven't even got a glass of water. So you get really clear with yourself and honest, what am I not doing right now that I need to add in as a simple little thing that's going to cause that goal to happen. The last question, I will know the change has anchored when. So this is knowing life, this is knowing your routines. If it's water intake, maybe it's I'll know it's anchored when I go out to eat and I only order water, because my body has become accustomed to the feeling of being cleansed and not filling it with these liquids that aren't serving me nutritionally, okay? So are we ready to do a little practice? Get into a goal? Are we ready to do a little goal for ourselves for May? Okay, so I'm gonna play a little music. We're gonna have about 3 minutes. I want you to do at least one goal, but if you can do a second or a third, that'd be wonderful. And I'm gonna have you share it with the person next to you, but I'll cue that in just a moment. So if we can play the music, if you get finished a little bit early, on the screen there's gonna be a video rolling just with some powerful testimonies that our community shared of little shifts they've made that have had big change. I want you to turn to somebody beside you and I want you to tell them how it feels for you to be 30 days from now having accomplished that goal. Get really clear on, how you feel in your body having accomplished that goal. So turn to the person next to you. You might actually find if you're having any issues constructing this goal, the person next to you wasn't there by accident. Maybe they can guide you. All right, let's come back. So there's power in what you just wrote down. There's even more power if you shared it with somebody next to you. The whole point of this journey is the journey, okay? The whole point of this is the process. It's actually not about this end goal, right? It's not about just accomplishing a goal and checking it off the list and on to the next thing. But it's really about who we become through being a person that takes action and taking ownership. And we all, we start with these oils, we're drawn to them and we embrace them because they draw us in. We find them at a time in our life where we feel like we need to make some changes and somebody generously shares this gift with us. But it turns into a journey we embrace because it is the only way forward. It is the only way forward. what we're doing in this room and how we are taking charge of our health in small ways, which lead to big ways, is impacting the world on a massive scale. Over 4 million people using doTERRA in just 9 years. Like, wow. And we have such an opportunity in Canada. We had our launch last year, right? Some of you were there. Less than 1% of Canadians are using doTERRA. There's probably a good 10% of them that know about it, but they're kind of waiting to see if this is just a fad for you, for us. Is this something that you're going to stop next month and move on to protein powder, skincare, or something else, right? But this is a lifestyle. This is something that we're impacting our world in a big way. You know, we work first here, always, and then we go out and we offer that to other people. And I think that's the best gift we can give our family, our communities, and our world is us being healthy. To not be part of the broken model, but to be a light and to be part of the solution. To know that, you know, 15 years from now, you in this room were part of the difference. You changed that scale. You changed those numbers in the direction that was going in. So we're going to close out, and I'm not sure how to wrap up an event like this other than to say thank you. I'm so grateful to be here learning and growing with each of you, and these events are really powerful for that. There's a lot of events coming up. How many of you are going to convention? Awesome! Yeah, it's going to be amazing. 35,000 people in Utah. So we'll go visit them instead of them coming to see us. But let's walk out this room bigger and brighter in our life. Let's take something, take your plan. If you didn't finish it, you know, if you're on the train or you're a passenger in the car on the way home, think about your experience and think about how you can get it out of here and get it out. Get it into action. Bless other people through it. I'm grateful to be with you, and everyone have safe travels home, and we're excited to see you at another event. Thanks.